Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss one of the films called The Osiris Child, and never forget that I always pray for you and your family to be happy and healthy always. Set in the future, when humanity has mastered space exploration, there's a military contractor company called Exor, tasked with guarding a new colony planet used as a prison for serious offenders. The company operates above the skies using a floating structure called the flotilla. Additionally, on this planet, there's a capital city where Earthlings come to visit. At first glance, everything seems fine, but what everyone doesn't know is that the Exor company is secretly conducting horrifying experiments on the prisoners. Kane Sommerville is a lieutenant at Exor, responsible for security on this new colony planet. Kane was once a war hero who was forced to leave Earth and work for Exor. In a battle, he made a mistake that led to the death of his entire team. Although the higher-ups accused Kane of drug abuse, his outstanding career as a pilot earned him forgiveness, and he was transferred to the flotilla. Living on a planet far from Earth made it difficult for Kane to see his 11-year-old daughter, Indi. Furthermore, his relationship with his wife hasn't been the same since Kane was reassigned. At one point, when Indi had the chance to visit Kane, he immediately took her on a tour of the desert while occasionally discussing some things. To please his daughter, Kane then taught Indi how to shoot before they checked out the bunker being built by Exor. After the meeting, Kane sent Indi to Osiris City to live with a caregiver, since young children were not allowed into the flotilla. Kane also promised Indi that he would visit her again in a week. Meanwhile, in the prison area, a prisoner named Lombrok is seen discussing with his two comrades named Vim and Charles to plan an escape. Lombrok used to be a nurse working at a hospital on Earth. One day, Sai suffered a mental breakdown after finding out that his wife and child were involved in an accident caused by a man who happened to be admitted to the same hospital. Unfortunately, despite the doctor's efforts, Sai's wife and child could not be saved. Angry about what happened to his family, Sai intentionally abused his position as a nurse to enter the operating room and kill the man who caused the accident. It was because of this action that Sai was sent to this prison planet. During the discussion among the three, Charles initially thought that Sai's plan was a suicide mission, but he later agreed to the plan after confirming that another group of prisoners led by Bostock would also participate in the escape. As the initial step of the plan, Sai started a fight with other prisoners to lure the arrival of the guards and the prison warden named Mordain. Because this was part of the plan, Charles also joined the fight, which then triggered a massive brawl between the prisoners and the prison guards. At the end of the brawl, the prisoners were placed in isolation rooms consisting of special rotating cells with flashing lights. This certainly caused an annoying effect and forced the prisoners to keep moving non-stop until they passed out. When Vim woke up, he found himself in a special cage and was approached by a terrifying monster that attacked Vim's neck with its tongue, causing him great pain. While Sai was placed in a different cage, Mordain began to explain about the terraforming project conducted by the Exor Corporation. They deliberately created these terrifying creatures by genetically mutating the prisoners, turning them into beings capable of evolving and adapting to any extreme environment. At that moment, the floor of Sai's cage suddenly opened, causing him to fall down. It turned out that this action was taken by Bostock, and it was all part of the escape plan. After receiving new clothes and identity cards, Charles joined them, revealing that he accidentally released the demons. The demons referred to by Charles were the terrifying monsters created by the Exor Corporation, using genetic mutations of the prisoners. Fortunately, Sai, Bostock and Charles managed to escape, while Mordain eventually died after being killed by Vim's mutated creature. Outside the prison, Bostock and Charles planned to go to the capital to start a new life, while Sai chose to part ways because he wanted to go to an opera. Meanwhile, in the flotilla, Kane, who woke up from his sleep, received information from the room's intelligence system about the disruption of all communication signals caused by the riot in the prison. Kane immediately joined a meeting with the executives, including flotilla's leader, General Linux. Recently, Linux received a report on the colony's status regarding the prisoners who caused a riot in the prison, where they managed to seize a deadly virus tested by Exor and used it to hold the planet hostage. If Exor tries to intervene or rescue humans, the prisoners will release the virus on the capital, Osiris. Linux promised to negotiate with the prisoners within 24 hours and assured the other executives that the people on Osiris would be safe. After the meeting, Kane, worried about his daughter, tried to contact Indi but received no answer, which only increased his concern. Especially after the flotilla system also revealed that the events in the prison were classified as a secret case. Fortunately, a senior official named Colonel Michael, who knew that Kane's daughter was on Osiris, told him the truth based on their friendship. There was no virus taken by the prisoners, as Linux had previously stated. What Exor had secretly been working on was the creation of creatures called Ragged, created based on genetic mutations of the prisoners and intended to be used for establishing a new colony. These monsters had escaped and were moving toward the main city, so Exor had no choice but to detonate the main reactor, which would sweep away the prison area, the mine, and the capital of Osiris within the next 24 hours. Hearing this, Kane became furious because not only had he been deceived, but he was also not allowed to rescue the people in the capital. However, Colonel Michael, understanding Kane's feelings, revealed that in the next 20 minutes the aircraft hangar would be closed, and thereafter no one could enter or leave the flotilla. Without wasting any more time, Kane decided to do what he knew best, being a pilot. He stole an aircraft from the hangar and made a determined effort to escape from the pursuing officers. In short, Kane managed to bring down the pursuing pilot, but because his own aircraft was also damaged, Kane had to activate the ejection seat and land with a parachute. As he landed near the lake, Kane was suddenly attacked by a man who then dragged him to the shore. The man was Sai, who then pointed his weapon at Kane, thinking he was an Exor soldier tasked with capturing the prisoners. However, Kane quickly explained that he had received information that Exor was planning to detonate a nuclear reactor that could devastate most of the planet's surface, so he decided to defect to rescue his daughter on Osiris. Kane then made a deal with Sai. If Sai could take him to Osiris, Kane would show him the location of a bunker that could protect them from the reactor explosion. Without much thought, Sai agreed to the offer, but to reach the capital in time, they needed a vehicle. Therefore, Sai first took him to a bar to find someone with a suitable vehicle willing to take them to Osiris. Arriving at the bar, which used to be a surveillance post, they met Bill and Jip, who had a prisoner transport bus that was perfect for traveling. However, getting close to Bill and Jip wasn't easy because they were known to be very cruel and drug addicts. In fact, Jip even threatened to slit Kane's throat for disturbing their enjoyment. Fortunately, Sai was able to negotiate peacefully, and it was agreed that Kane would pay them $20,000 for the service of taking them to the capital. Of course, such an amount of money wasn't a problem for Kane, as he was a former member of Exor. After that, they went to meet two other men named Mendel and Joe to buy a large number of weapons they could use to defend themselves during the journey. Here again, Kane had to spend $30,000 to get the desired weapons. Joe and Mendel were very pleased with the transaction because they could easily make a lot of money. However, sometime after Kane's group left their home, they were suddenly visited by the mutants, and of course, these two men couldn't defend themselves adequately because all their weapons had been sold. Meanwhile, on the way to the capital, Kane informed everyone about the origin of the monsters and the nuclear reactor that would explode in the next 4 hours. They also continued to discuss philosophically about the fate awaiting them in the capital and the consequences they would face for their actions. In short, when they arrived at the capital, it was clear that the city was in great chaos. The mutants were attacking from every corner and infecting more humans to mutate. Kane and Sai immediately entered the apartment to pick up Indi, while Bill and Jip would try to protect the bus until they all returned. However, in their efforts to stop the monsters from approaching the bus, Bill is accidentally hit by an explosion which leaves him seriously injured. Jip did her best to help, but because Bill had lost too much blood, he eventually passed away. On the other hand, Kane, along with Sai, managed to enter the apartment and found the caregiver of Indi, who had died in a fire. But fortunately, Indi was still alive as she was hiding inside the closet. And because the ground floor was filled with monsters, the three of them had to go up to the upper floor, where Sai bravely carried Indi to jump onto the bus. Kane, following from behind, almost fell, but luckily, he was saved by Sai. They all entered the bus through the roof hatch and soon realized that Bill had been killed. Jip was also distressed by the death of her lover, but thanks to Kane's encouragement, she quickly drove her bus to leave the capital as soon as possible. There, Kane tried to explain to Indi what was happening and apologized to her for dragging her into such a dangerous situation. Kane also gave Jip directions to the bunker and ensured that everyone learned the special code to open the bunker door. Meanwhile, inside the flotilla complex, Linux, who was preparing for the reactor detonation process, suddenly received news about a bus approaching the bunker. She immediately ordered an aircraft to approach and monitor the mentioned vehicle. The appearance of this Exor aircraft naturally made Kane panic, so he asked Jip not to turn too early so that their movement would not be detected. And indeed, after a few moments of following, the aircraft eventually flew away. However, as soon as Jip turned her vehicle towards the bunker, the aircraft suddenly reappeared and indiscriminately fired at the bus. Sai and Indi survived the attack, but not Kane and Jip, which of course was a heavy blow for Indi, who initially refused to leave her father's body. However, Sai, realizing they didn't have much time left, quickly pulled Indi out of the bus and hurried towards the bunker. Unfortunately, at that moment, one of the mutants found them and quickly infected Sai using its tongue. Sai managed to kill the creature and swiftly entered the bunker with Indi just as the reactor finally exploded and Sai was in the process of mutating. 1 year after the incident, 2 Exor scientists assigned to investigate the bunker suddenly encountered Indi wearing protective clothing. They were naturally shocked to see a child who could survive on this planet, but before they could digest what was happening, one of them was suddenly attacked by a mutant. Calmly, Indi approached the remaining scientist and inquired about the whereabouts of the flotilla. The explorer explained that after the disaster, the flotilla was eventually recalled and was on its way back to Earth. And the news they told everyone was that the rebel prisoners had taken control of the reactor, resulting in the destruction of the planet with no survivors. Hearing this, Indi was understandably furious and threatened the woman to take her into the flotilla undetected. Indi harbored resentment towards Exor and planned to launch an attack along with the monster, which was none other than a mutation of Sai. They boarded the explorer's ship, where it was apparent that Indi and the monster Sai could communicate with each other using sign language, and the film ended with Indi bidding farewell to her deceased father. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.